everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. Mrs. Plack and I both miss you guys a lot. And now she told me that every year she reads a story for Earth Day to her class. So we wanted to make sure that you guys didn't miss out on it this year. So I'm going to video myself reading The Lorax to you guys by Dr. Seuss. At the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today, where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax? And why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows. The old Onceler still lives here. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkin' on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkin', cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffered moof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks, and he tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. So there's the boy tossing in what he's paying, the Onceler. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grovelous glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper my phone, for the secrets I tell you are for your ears alone. Slup down slups the whisper my phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time ago. So he's telling the story through this hose. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swami swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place. And at first I saw trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. So the Onceler is telling the story. He's saying I because he's telling it from his perspective. So this is what he was seeing. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. So there's his cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffle tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. So he took the tree and he made this thneed with it right here. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump, and I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he says, with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. So at the top of my lungs means like as loud as I can. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed. What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped down just one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, but it has other uses. Yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers, for bicycle seats. So this is all what the Onceler is explaining to him what you could do with this thneed that he's making. Would you guys like to have a thneed if you could have one of these? The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed. But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong. For just at that minute, a chap came along. A chap is like a man. And he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy. So this man came by and he bought the thneed for $3.98. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, listen here. Here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. So there they all are, knitting these thneeds, his whole family, because they think they can get rich from this now. They can get lots of money from it. And they're chopping down all these trees. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before. 4 times as fast with this, because it chopped down 4 trees at a time with this invention. And that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week, he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees. which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown bar-baloots who play in the shade in their bar-baloot suits and happily lived eating truffle of fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffle of fruit to go round. And my poor bar-baloots are getting all the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. There they are. They don't look very happy. Their stomachs are upset. They're hungry. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. So there's the line of them. They're all leaving because they can't find food here anymore. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. So he was sad, but he thought his business was more important. I meant no harm. I most truly did not. Here's all these carts that say you need a thneed on them. But I had to grow bigger. So bigger I got. I biggered my factory. I biggered my roads. I biggered my wagons. I biggered the loads of thneeds I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more thneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. So he was making more and more money from the thneeds. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when the old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. Nuisance is like something really annoying, and gripes is like you're complaining about something. I am the Lorax, he coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled. He snargled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a cruffulous croak. There he is. Doesn't look very happy. Onceler, you're making such smogglous smoke. My poor swami swans, why, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. There they are. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. So just like the bar-baloots, he's sending away these guys too. They're all flying away. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. So all this dark smoke that is getting into their lungs. They have to fly away from it. What's more, snapped the Lorax. His dander was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity-glup, also schluppity-schlup. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty Onceler man, you. So all these machines are making all this gluppity-glup. And this is where it's going. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. So he's sending the fish away too, and they have to go find water that isn't gonna keep them from getting tired when they're swimming. Find them clear water. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, your Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. So he got mad at the Lorax and he's saying, I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing. At that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall. The very last truffula tree of them all. Because he was chopping down all these trees, but no more trees was he planting, and so eventually they're all going to be gone, right? And this was the very last truffula tree. No more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax and I. They all left, and that's all that was there. Needs. All these signs are still here. The Lorax said nothing. Just gave me a glance. Just gave me a very sad backward glance. As he lifted himself by the seat of his pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face. Grim is like a serious look on your face. When he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without ever leaving a trace. So he was just gone. He left, just like all the other animals. Think about how this place looked when the Onceler first got there, and now think about how it looks now. Pretty different. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word: unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was a long ago. But each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I have worried about it with all of my heart. So do you think the Onceler regretted what he did to this place? Probably no. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So here's his unless sign. So, catch, calls the Onceler, and he lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last of them all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds. And truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula. Treat it with care. Give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest. Protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. So he's saying there's hope. If this boy who came by plants this seed and can grow some new trees and bring everything back to life, then there's hope in things getting better and the Lorax coming back. So that's the end of the story. So because tomorrow is Earth Day, this story fits in perfectly, right? Because we want to think about how we need to take care of the earth, just like we needed to take care of the truffula trees.